clear, correct, interesting, and unbiased news and programming 24/7. I listen most of the day, and I just feel so grateful to have KUT as my companion. Rita, we feel so grateful to have you as our companion.
Join those folks by going to KUT.org and clicking the donate button. Gay says, thank you for your valuable service to the community. You rock. No, Gay, you rock. And Hannah says, I can't describe the value of KUT and KUTX in my life. I've listened since my walks between classes at UT, and it's been my go-to ever since. Reliable news, excellent music. Sunday morning jazz is my absolute happy place. Shout out Sunday morning jazz on KUTX.
Jay
Trachtenberg, let's go. Feels so great to be plugged into my city through news, stories, and music. And I'm so grateful for all the various talented people, Jay Trachtenberg, who Sunday morning jazz, who create the shows. Thank you. Got another one, Nathan?
I do. This one mentions some folks in the newsroom. Emily says, KUT and KUTX have made my life in Austin better since 2014, and I'm so thankful for reliable news from O's, Jennifer, Luz, and the news team, and the unbeatable tunes from Taylor, Confucius, Rick, Jeff, and everyone who keeps those stations on air 24/7. I love you guys. Long live NPR, CBB, KUT, and KUTX. Emily, thank you very much for your support. That means a lot to us. And I just want to add, while I have the coach, that the match from Casey and Scott O'Hare, $25,000.
Very generous.
Very generous, and we are more than halfway through. So if you join us as a member right now, they are going to match your annualized pledge. So if you join us at $10 a month, we'll count that as $120. You're going to give us $120. So please take a moment to go to KUT.org and become a member. And hey, if you want, leave a comment and it might keep it over here.
That's right. And, you know, some of the recent comments that we heard mention KUTX. What's great about the way we do things here is your support supports not just KUT, but also KUTX.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of folks that are very loyal to their station. We got our music folks that only listen to KUTX. You guys rock. You hear that? We have the folks that only listen to the news station. I'm talking about you. You rock, specifically because you listen to KUT. But we also have a lot of folks that bounce between both of them. I love listening to the folks on the music side. They're some of my closest friends. I am informed by KUT. I don't just work here. I'm also a listener and a supporting member. And I love the fact that my donation supports both KUT and KUTX in all of our projects, from KUT Considers and all the various meetups around town that we like to do, AT Explained, but also stuff like The Drop-In, the series that we're doing across the street at Hole in the Wall, Studio 1A's, all of the stuff KUTX is cooking up to keep the music scene here in Austin alive. You can support that by going to KUT.org, clicking the donate button, choosing the level that feels right for you, and becoming our latest monthly member.
And hey, if you're not a KUTX listener, I do encourage you to check it out, 98.9 FM or KUTX.org. It is really what a music radio station, what do you imagine like a real local radio station should be. DJs choosing their own music, bands playing live on the air, they're playing local artists that, you know, you're just not going to hear on corporate radio. And it's great music discovery. Like, yeah, you know, you can use all the apps and stuff to find new music, but honestly, from my personal experience, they're just not as good as a real human being who knows the music, not an algorithm, selecting those tracks for you and putting them together so it's not just the same genre over and over and over, but a whole mix of stuff. You get some stuff that's familiar, and then you're exposed to something new. It's kind of like listening to the news program. You walk away feeling a little enlightened.
Not only that, they've got some fantastic voices across the way. Right now, I am looking at Lori Gagano, local legend. And coming up next in like 6 minutes, you're going to hear the voice of Jerry Quijano, another legend, the GOAT, as some folks on Reddit have christened him. These are the kinds of voices that we can put on air through the support of our members, and you can join them at KUT.org today. Nathan, we covered a lot of ground today. You've joined me pretty much since I started here at noon. Is there anything that we haven't gotten around to that you feel is worth mentioning on this membership drive Tuesday? Monday.
There's so much news that we don't even have time to talk about. But let me just choose a topic. So one thing that happened recently that is in the transportation news on my beat is the legislative session ended, and
Had a lot coverage around the stuff happening at the legislature.
And there's so many bills that didn't pass, and I think most bills don't pass. And one of those that didn't pass is one that has big implications for transportation in Austin, and that's a bill that, well, there are two versions of this, one in the House, one in the Senate, blah, blah, blah. This would have basically made it next to impossible for Austin to build a light rail system. This is one approved. It's just if you're new to Austin, you just moved here. In 2020, there was an election to increase property taxes in order to pay for the largest expansion of public transit in this city's history. And now, what happened between then and a couple years later was
in 1 mile, turn right onto Spicewood Parkway.
Was reduced. At least the first phase, the amount that is funded under this first phase was reduced from, we're talking a 20-mile light rail system, shrank down to a little under 10 miles without a downtown subway. But that is, that there is the money to pay for that, and at least as of now, and the state legislature was considering a bill that would have made it next to impossible for the Austin Transit Partnership, the agency building that, to borrow billions of dollars in order to pay for the high upfront costs, because they're getting $160, $170 million a year in property taxes, and that number increases every year. That's just not enough to pay for this up front. Now, obviously, a lot of people oppose this. A lot of people are upset when that 20 miles became 10 miles. But the Texas legislature, so this is important, whether you support it or not. The Texas legislature almost passed a bill that would have ended that, but they gavelled out of session without passing the legislation. So now the people who are hoping to make this happen breathed a tremendous sigh of relief. They have issued essentially a request for qualifications for like $3 billion worth of design and construction management. So this is moving now down, I want to say full steam ahead, but it's an electric train. So, it is moving down the tracks. There are a couple lawsuits that are still outstanding. So, of course, we'll be covering those here on KUT News. And they all have, I won't get into the weeds because we only have a few minutes left, but it all has to do with the way that this is funded, the taxing mechanism, sort of the technicalities of the financing mechanism. But it's just a big...
Now turn right onto Spicewood Parkway.
And keep supporting KUT, keep listening to KUT and reading our stories online. We're going to do our best just to keep you apprised of what's going on. Obviously, I'm on the transportation, but we cover so much more than transportation. We've got Audrey doing award-winning housing coverage. You got to have a place to live, and it's pretty nice when you do. And we've got Mose Buchel, another award-winning reporter. I just stood side by side with him last year to claim a National Merle Award.
So a little left out on this whole award thing.
So, Juan, you have the award to my heart.
In 500 feet, turn right onto Spicewood Club Drive.
You're on the air all day. You are the companion for folks. You're keeping them company, and that's really important. Also, you're doing this daily.
Now turn right onto Spicewood Club Drive.
KUT News Now, it's like all the local news wrapped up into one simple podcast. I could go on, and I will if you don't stop me, but I'll just say we have a lot to offer here, music news, and we want you to be a part of it, because we don't have shareholders, we have members. We are responsible to you. So we hope that you'll join us on this adventure of just discovering the city and what happens here, reporting on, trying to get the details out, and discovering cool new music, and supporting local artists.
Building the local community around news, music, information, and the whole 9 yards.
We need your support to do that, we really do. And KUT.org is where you can help us out right now.
Go to KUT.org, click the donate button. This is KUT and KUT HD1 Austin, online at KUT.org. All things considered, and Jerry Quijano are coming up next. Keep it here.
My name is Ursula Overdiek. I am originally from Germany, therefore I have an accent. I found KUT in 1996 when I moved here. I needed information because I was new in this country, so information was crucial. I dialed around and found KUT because it gave me the most concentrated information about the area, the new country I was moving into. Not only about Austin, but also
In
Texas,
500 feet,
how
turn
things
left onto
work
Spicewood
here.
Parkway.
yeah, as soon as I realized what a fundraiser is, I was not familiar that fundraiser existed.
Now turn
we
left
don't
onto
have
Spicewood
that
Parkway.
in Germany. It really was so strange to me that they were begging for money. I switched on the radio, and that day they suddenly begged for money. I said, what is this? And it took me a while to find out how they need money to function. That was quite a surprise. So it was, I think, in 2000 when I became a member the first time. And I feel good that I can contribute to it. My name is Ursula Overdiek, and I'm a member at KUT since a long time.
Live from NPR News in Washington.
In 500 feet, turn right
The
onto
US
Ashton
official
Ridge.
not authorized to speak publicly tells NPR that U.S. military strikes against 3 Iranian nuclear sites this past
Now turn right
Saturday
onto Ashton
set
Ridge.
the program back a few months, and that damage to the centrifuges at the underground Fordo facility was limited. The official says the early assessment says the attacks did not obliterate Iran's nuclear enrichment program, as President Trump had said. The president has arrived in the Netherlands to attend the NATO summit. It's a short gathering this year. It ends tomorrow. But there are some big debates happening over defense spending by alliance member nations. NPR's Deepa Shivaram has more.
The goal of the summit is to get NATO nations to commit to spending 5% of their GDP on defense in the next decade. But President Trump isn't convinced the U.S. should have to adhere to that number. On the flight over to the Netherlands, he said he doesn't think the U.S. needs to pay what Europe pays. He was also unclear on his commitment to Article 5 of the NATO
In
Charter.
500
the
feet,
mutual defense
turn right
agreement
onto
that says
Scotland
if
Well
one
Drive.
NATO country is attacked, all will defend. Trump said he was committed to, quote, saving lives, and said he'd give an exact definition on his stance on Article 5 when he got to the
Now
Netherlands.
turn right onto Scotland
Nations
Well
are meeting
Drive.
for a dinner at the palace of the King of the Netherlands this evening, and then gathering for summit sessions on Wednesday. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News, The Hague.
New Yorkers are voting today in the city's Democratic mayoral primary. NPR's Sarah Ventry reports there are clear frontrunners among the 11 candidates.
The frontrunners are current member of the state assembly, Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, and former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a centrist Democrat. Both candidates have campaigned on issues of affordability, public safety, and education, but with very different visions for the city. Because this election uses ranked choice voting, the outcome may not be immediately known. Sarah Ventry, NPR News, New York.
Stocks gained for a second day while oil prices continued falling on hopes
In
tensions
500
the Middle
feet,
East
turn right
ease.
onto Old Lamp
Right
Passes
now,
Trail.
the Dow
Then turn left
Jones
onto Spicewood
Industrial
Springs
Average
Road.
is up 507 points. NPR's Rafael Dam has more.
Tensions between Iran and Israel
Now turn right onto
continue
Old Lamp
despite
Passes
a
Trail.
fragile ceasefire agreement between the two countries that the U.S. helped broker. Nonetheless, investors are hopeful the situation will improve and that cooler heads will prevail. That optimism is helping fuel gains in Wall Street. Oil prices fell sharply after President
Now turn left
Trump
onto
said
Spicewood
today
Springs
that
Road.
China could buy oil from Iran. That's helping reduce concerns about global supplies. Nonetheless, investors are mindful that things could change pretty quickly. Rafael Nam, NPR News.
This is NPR News from Washington. Extreme heat warnings or heat advisories are in place for almost 160 million people across the U.S., according to the National Weather Service. NPR's Adam Byrne got this advice on keeping kids safe in the heat.
Dr. Jess Weiss is a pediatrician at Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. She says adults should use common sense when it comes to letting kids play outside.
But we do worry about temperatures being above 95 degrees.
Weiss says drinking lots of water and taking plenty of breaks are key. She also suggests that summer camps or daycares adjust their schedules.
Keeping outdoor time outside of those really hot hours, so between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.
That's exactly what's happening at Curiosity Preschool in Silver Spring, Maryland. The kids are only playing outside in the morning. 5-year-old Mila Zudik knows where she'd rather be.
I like to go on slides outside, and I also like to go to the parks.
She has to wait a little longer with the heat wave due to last into next week. Adam Byrne, NPR News.
Sean Diddy Combs' defense lawyers aren't expected to call witnesses, and Combs isn't taking the stand. The music mogul is on trial in New York for sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense is that he led an unconventional but consensual sex life that didn't involve his businesses. Closing arguments could begin this week. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will return to Capitol Hill tomorrow to give lawmakers more answers about interest rates and the economy. I'm Kristen Wright, and this is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Walton Family Foundation, working to create access to opportunity for people and communities by tackling tough social and environmental problems. More information is at waltonfamilyfoundation.org.
This is KUT News. A Travis County District Judge has ruled that a $440 million road bond approved by Hays County voters in November is now void. The ruling says county commissioners violated the Open Meetings Act public notice requirement. The Commissioners Court in August called for a bond election to pay for building and maintaining roads, but the judge ruled the county did not give proper notice or allow for proper public comments. The county may appeal. It's All Things Considered here on KUT News. We are reliably Austin.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Ari Shapiro in Washington. The ceasefire between Israel and Iran got off to a shaky start. The countries had been at war for 12 days when President Trump announced the pause in fighting last night. Israel hit Iran again soon after that announcement, and Iran struck back, which prompted a furious reply from the U.S. president. Of course, the U.S. is directly involved in this conflict, having bombed nuclear and military sites in Iran over the weekend. Today, the war appears quiet. NPR international correspondent Mia Batrawi is in Dubai, and she's here to explain the status of the conflict. Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, so almost as soon as the ceasefire was announced, Israel seemed to blow right through it. Tell us more about what happened.
Yeah, it was a very shaky, uncertain start. Israel pounded Iran with strikes during a window between when Trump announced the ceasefire and when it was supposed to come into effect this morning. And then Iran hit southern Israel, killing 4 people there.